right. Well, welcome, welcome everyone to the political science and pre-law question and answer session. I'm Jonah Mitchell with the admissions office, and we are joined today by Dr. Mark Schaefer, head of the political science department, who I will also let introduce himself.
Hi, good to see you all, or not see you all, but I'm glad to be here for you to answer any questions you may have.
So at the moment, we don't have any questions. So if anyone has questions, just feel free to go ahead and ask those, and we'll get them answered as they come in. So. All right, so we have a question.
Okay.
This question says, what are some ways that students and professors interact outside the classroom at Marietta College, being a small campus?
Well, I would say that student-faculty interaction is pretty constant at Marietta College. It's really different. I went to a big state school, so I can say that from my undergraduate experience, like I interacted with faculty members outside the classroom as little as possible. One of that was because as a student, I was pretty shy, but also because faculty members, their time was pretty scarce because they were off doing a lot of research and things like that and in meetings all day. At Marietta College, it's literally like an open door policy with every faculty member's office. So every faculty member would in their office, their door is open. If their door is closed, that's because they're not there. So students are basically coming in and out of faculty members' offices, asking course-specific questions, but also asking, discipline-specific questions, but also just asking like life questions and just being, I don't know, Marietta is different. It's very much a kind of like a second family. And I think that it's a pretty constant interaction. We also have lots of interaction in events like Pizza and Politics, our moot court program, which takes students off campus, and then also a lot of faculty-student interaction with things like Model United Nations, which also takes students off campus with faculty members.
So it's safe to say that you get a lot of interaction, both in the classroom, one-on-one attention, but also anything that you're doing outside that is maybe extracurricular or help you need and stuff like that. So
yes. I mean, and during this current like COVID crisis, I mean, I've seen probably a 50% increase in texts and emails, but I would still be answering texts and emails every night, even if it was just a regular Sunday night. Papers are almost due, final exams are a week away, so students would be sending me questions, asking for input on drafts, asking for input on outlines. So it's like a constant interaction between faculty members and students, I would say.
Awesome. Yep. And I would definitely agree with that. So good to hear. Let's see. Anyone who is joining in, feel free to ask your questions as they come up, and we'll answer them, and as we just go along here. So we have another question. This person said, so you mentioned the increase with in messages with the COVID-19 situation, and this person is asking, how are classes and or labs running right now during the COVID-19 situation? How has that affected your department?
So for my department, for the political science department, we've moved most of our classes are discussion-based classes. So they're not a lecture-based class. So we're pretty used to a lot of student engagement, a lot of student interaction with faculty members, a lot of questions, a lot of interaction between students in our classes. So our classes have shifted to Zoom, which is the same format that we're talking with you all right now in. And so most of our classes are seeing at least one Zoom session a week between faculty members and students. And for most of them, I would say it's 2 to 3 sessions a week. And I know that also faculty members have shifted so that they're basically giving students a lot of kind of like reading guides to get them kind of started on each day's readings, and then basically bringing those, reading guides to students in a discussion-based format via Zoom. It's not perfect. It's not as great as being on our campus. But the thing that I do think that students, and I can speak for myself as a faculty member, have taken from all of this is a really good way to become more and more adaptable, which in our, economy, in our world, in our country, I mean, that's a very marketable skill. So it was definitely something where I felt like I hit a speed bump in the first week, and then I just had to figure out a way to kind of get over it, get used to it, adapt to this new environment, still be as good a teacher as possible in this new environment. And I think that students have risen to that challenge as well. And it's a big thing. It's something that I hope we don't have to repeat again, but I mean, it's definitely something where I can say that, I've grown from it. I've gotten better as an instructor out of it. And I think students have adapted to it really well too.
Yep, that's great. And there's a follow-up question to that said, has that change in atmosphere from being in-person classes to the more electronic communication, has that changed coursework or materials for the semester?
Not in political science. So I can't speak to every department on campus, but in political science, that has not changed. That was something that we didn't want to add in more work, because we knew that going to a more web-based system, students were already going to be stretched thin. It's a different environment. You have to adjust to it. So we knew as a department that we didn't want to add, more papers, more assignments. We wanted to stick with our course syllabus, which is what you would begin every semester with in every class that you would take, and basically conduct the course as best we could, meeting that syllabus. So we did not want to add new work, new assignments.
Right, just kind of sticking to what you did have and making sure students have the materials to complete those tasks.
Yes.
So, okay, great. And again, anyone who's joining us, feel free to ask questions and we'll answer them as we kind of move here along. I will wait for some questions to roll in. Okay, so we have a question. This one says, you mentioned internships and field experience learning opportunities are big at Marietta. What opportunities do students in your department have for these type of experiential learning experiences?
So typically, I would say Marietta College political science and pre-law students probably divide out into 3 different types of like internship or experiential learning camps. One would be that they basically want to do that internship in a given semester, and they want to do it in basically the Washington County, Wood County area around our campus. And so students who take that path, they're typically going to be working for the public defender's office, the prosecutor's office, a local law firm, maybe for the probation office, or for the Bureau of Public Debt, which has that's a federal government office that has a branch in Parkersburg, West Virginia. So those are basically like, think about those as the ones that are like closest to campus. And then in a given election year, like this year, we're going to have students working on election campaigns in the fall. And that's going to be a big kind of like internship component for a lot of more politically minded folks who are thinking about maybe their first job outside of Marietta, being one in a political campaign. The second camp of folks, I would say those are people who want to do a summer internship. So they basically don't want to have an internship that is jammed into a particular academic semester. So those students will tend to do their internships either at home, in their home county, home state, maybe in the state capital, or they're going to basically partner that up with a program that we have in Washington, D.C. called the Washington Semester Program, and they're going to have a Washington, D.C. semester during a summer break. That's also something that a few students will choose to do during a particular Marietta College semester, but more often we're seeing that folks want to do that during the summer because they just don't want to miss the time on campus. The third grouping of students are students who want to basically do something way abroad. So these are people who are going to have basically a semester abroad or a summer abroad, or we've even had students take a year abroad. And in this, they could be doing an internship abroad, or they could just be a study abroad program in which they're taking college level classes somewhere way out in the world, wherever they would wish.
And someone actually just typed in when you said that, is there a limit on where they can go to study abroad to do one of those internships or anything like that? Or is there an area that they should focus on?
There is not, there is a limit on where you can study abroad. That limit would be one that is basically set up if you're a US resident by the US government. So obviously I'm not going to send you out to a place to study abroad in which there's a State Department travel warning about it. So you're not going to Afghanistan, right? You're not going to Syria right now. You're not going to study abroad there. It's a interesting thing because a couple of years ago when the Arab Spring first began in the Middle East and there was this round of revolutions and upheaval, we had a student who was preparing to do a semester-long internship in Egypt. And Egypt was one of the countries that had, the Arab Spring. And I can remember talking to her family in the lead up. She had her tickets booked. She had everything booked. And we basically had to change that study abroad and internship in the last minute from Egypt to Turkey. And then as soon as she left Turkey, there was instability in Turkey. And so we kind of made fun to say that, it followed her. So I would say that that's a limitation. The only other limitation would be that we would want to make sure that it was an accredited study abroad program or something that the college could specifically set up to make sure that credits from that program would come back to Marietta College. We wouldn't want you to have an expensive international experience that doesn't basically generate credit or doesn't bring something back to the college that would count towards graduation.
So, the college will ensure that, not only are you getting the credits when you do travel abroad, but you're not traveling abroad somewhere where you will be in danger.
Yes.
Yes. So, yes.
That is the key thing. If you want dangerous travel, that's something to do after graduation, for a government or something like that. That would be the way I would do it.
Another question here asks, is majoring in political science also on the pre-law track?
Yes. So at Marietta, here's in essence what we offer. We offer a political science major, and I would say probably 80% of our pre-law students are political science majors. But I'm also the pre-law advisor, and so I firmly believe that you can be any major that you would wish to be and be successful in law school, become an excellent practicing attorney, and have a great career out of it. So what I'm pushing students to basically choose is I want them to choose a major that's going to make them work as hard as possible. Because law schools ultimately, what they're looking at is they want to see basically the highest GPA possible partnered with the highest LSAT score possible. So as the pre-law advisor, I advise everybody on campus who is basically contemplating, thinking about going to law school. And this includes basically freshmen. So your first day on campus, I'm there to basically start answering questions about law school if you're not interested. But it also includes graduates. So this year, Marietta College has 2 students going off to Ohio State on full rides to law school. One is graduating from Marietta College in 2.5 weeks, and one graduated from Marietta College 5 years ago. And so I'd work with both students equally, and I take big pride in the fact that as a Marietta College alum, you get my services as the pre-law advisor whenever you come to me. So you can come to me on day one, freshman day one, or you can come to me 15 years down the road. Hey, I think I want to go to law school. Do you remember me? I'm saying, yeah, I remember you. And yes, I want to help you get to law school. So I take that really seriously.
Yeah. And I would say that's definitely one of the benefits, like we had talked about before, of being a smaller campus, is that one-on-one attention with professors. You're going to get to know your advisor, you're going to get to know your professors, and they're going to know kind of what your plan is, and always kind of have that, ability to come back and talk with you.
Yes. And we want to talk with you. Homecoming at Marietta is different. Homecoming at the big state school that I went to meant that you went to the football game. And if you ran into a professor, she or he probably didn't remember you. At Marietta, people come for the football game, sure. They come basically to see their friends. They come to see the people that they graduated with. But I learned really early at Marietta that they also come to see us. And so you better be in and around your office, homecoming day, homecoming weekend, because people are going to come and see you. And they're going to leave notes and send you emails and send you text messages. Hey, where are you? So, I mean, it's a big deal, but that's that unique Marietta College thing.
Right. And I would say, you'll have alum even want to stop by and revisit a class maybe they took or something like that. They enjoyed it so much. And so, yeah, I would say that is a specialty thing of having that smaller environment. So, and I think that's great. All right. If anyone is, again, just joining, welcome. And be sure to send us your questions as they come up, and we'll get them answered just like we've been doing. So yeah, be sure to send those in, and we'll take a quick pause to let some questions be asked.
That, by the way, is not a Christmas wreath. Okay. My wife says it's a boxwood wreath and that it can be displayed year round. That's not what I feel about it, but I decided to put it there in the shot because I don't know. It's festive. It's festive.
And if you did think it was a Christmas wreath, it's okay. I thought that as well. So you are not the only one,
I thought I had not taken down my Christmas decorations.
Okay, we have a question that just popped in that said, what types of jobs have graduates or do graduates usually pursue with degrees in political science?
So political science graduates tend to pursue jobs either in state or federal government. They tend to pursue them in, just any business environment. We have people go off. So I'll deal with the state and federal jobs first. State and federal jobs, typically we have people go off and they'll work for the FBI, the Defense Department, the State Department, CIA, and things like that. Or they'll go work in their state capital, work as a legislative affairs consultant, things like that. And then on the business side, we've had people go off and work in insurance companies, work as risk analysts. We've had people go off working in marketing companies and thinking about, governmental affairs and lobbying and things like that. And then I would say we also, obviously, as a political science department, we also have a lot of people who go off to law school or to graduate school. And then from law school or graduate school, obviously law school is going to be taking a pretty definite path towards becoming a lawyer. And then graduate school is a whole host of things, basically just opening bigger, broader, higher paying doors for people who are going to go off and work at state or federal government, or people who are going to go off and pursue political, like legislative jobs. And then there's also, I would say, particularly in an election cycle, we have a number of people who their first jobs away from campus are on political campaigns. So their first jobs, and they want to make sure that for the first year or two that they're going to work on a political campaign. And typically it's the groupings of students that are sophomores, juniors, and seniors during a big presidential election that kind of get the political bug the biggest. And then they go off and that's their first round of jobs. We've had several students who have basically made it a permanent calling, and then a lot of students that have done it for just, an election cycle or two, and then they go off and do something else, go to law school, start working in government, start working for a particular lobbying firm, things like that.
Yeah. And there's a follow-up question actually popped up when you were talking about it. This person says, what is the general corporate ladder in choosing a field in politics? And, I think they're kind of asking, where would you start out?
If you were going to, so what is the general ladder for choosing a career in politics?
Right. So how do you move up?
The general ladder for choosing a career in politics is to intern early. And so you want to have basically as many internship experiences that can basically build your standing within the Republican Party or within the Democratic Party, or with a particular candidate that you're going to basically want to kind of build your career around. The other path would be just to have lots and lots of different experiences, all with one particular political party. So if you are, I'm a Democrat, I'm always going to be a Democrat, or I'm a Republican, I'm always going to be a Republican. You want to have as many political experiences as possible, and that basically builds up your political resume. And then by the time that you've had 2 or 3 of those internships, then you can start working on more campaigns and become basically a campaign staff member. And then political campaigns are a lot like minor league baseball. The more successful you do, and the more successful that campaign is, the more your kind of profile builds within that particular state or within that particular party. And it doesn't just necessarily mean that you have to be on a winning campaign. You could just be on a House campaign. So, a House race in California that, was supposed to lose by 12 points and they only lost by 6. Okay. That particular party is going to look at those campaign staff members and they go, holy crap, we only lost by 6 points. So this must be a fancy, group of workers. So that kind of pulls you up that ladder as well. So it's not just that you have to basically latch yourself onto a winner. It really is just, you have to work hard and you have to be a hard worker. And politics, and this doesn't matter the party affiliation, they're very much loyalty based. So if you are a loyal, hardworking staff member, you're going to see yourself pulled up. And then typically for people, some people always want to work campaigns. They want to stay in campaigns forever. And so they'll basically always be on somebody's campaign. And other folks, they might get tired of it. They're tired of the constant media relations that they're going to have to do. And so what they're going to look to do is they're going to look to basically jump from successful campaigning to working inside somebody's staff, and political staffs, they will hire people just directly to say, okay, I'm hiring so many staff members for my Columbus office and I'm hiring so many staff members for my DC office, but they're also going to hire people off of their campaigns. And they're going to want to give loyal campaign workers basically a place on their legislative staff or on their media relations staff and things like that.
Because, kind of like you talked about, you want, once you're in office or something like that, you want those loyal and dedicated people that from when you weren't in power to be with you once you are, kind of a thing. So,
yes. Politicians, there are some exceptions, but politicians typically trust the people that have been with them the longest, and that's a protection mechanism for them because they're so reliant upon their staff for information. They're so reliant on their staff to do a lot of services for them that they want to have basically trusted people around them. So there are some who are not always looking for, they always want new faces and things like that. But a lot of politicians are basically loyalty driven.
Which makes sense. This question popped up, and I think that this is more related to the law field rather than the politics one. But this question says, when thinking about law school, I've heard that the LSAT is impossible. Is this true?
The LSAT is difficult, but not impossible. Okay. So for all of you all that are sitting there thinking about, I think I want to go to law school. And this is just me, the pre-law advisor, talking to you. It really, Joan is not going to want me to say this, but this goes for any school that you choose to go to. Okay. This goes for any school that you choose to go to. Think about it already that you want to take the LSAT in the summer after your junior year. Okay. If at all possible, you do not want to take the LSAT while you're taking classes in college. Okay. You want to have a summer in which you basically can do nothing but prepare for the LSAT. And so what we try to do at Marietta College is we try to basically take everyone's junior year to start to gear them up with me as the pre-law advisor to prepare them to take the LSAT. And so ultimately everything is geared up so that you could take the June, July, or August LSAT summer test and then come back to me in the fall of your senior year. We'll get your score pretty early and we'll know what schools you should be applying to and basically the rest of your process. Now, is it true that it's impossible? It's a difficult test. It is a difficult test, but it's not a test that you can't prepare for, okay? And it's not a test that you can't basically educate yourself as to how to answer their questions and to know how to go through their questions. I would say with the LSAT that there's probably, I don't know, like 5% of folks that take it don't have to study at all, can just walk in, take the LSAT, and get like the greatest score ever. And to be honest, I would not be one of those people, okay? I would be a person who would have to prepare, that would have to study, that would have to understand how they ask questions. Now, it's not like a study class or a study test, like where you have to memorize things. It's something where you have to understand how to answer their specific logic games. It's a test that's very different than the ACT or the SAT. So it's not comparable to the GRE, if any of you all have family members that have taken the GRE. The LSAT is unique, but we built a special way to basically start people early with classes, and as freshmen and sophomore, they're going to start to prepare your mind to take the LSAT and to do well in law school. And then in your junior year, in your third year, basically boosting it in and kind of recognizing, circling a date on a calendar and knowing this is when I'm going to take the LSAT and marching through a prep session with me. Now, some students don't want to have as much kind of guidance, and that's fine. And others want basically weekly or twice weekly meetings with me where we're going to set it up, and that's the way it's going to be. And I'm happy to go any which way you want. I'm just trying to make sure that every Marietta College student basically maximizes her or his LSAT score. It's the highest score that they could potentially get.
And again, that goes back to, it's great because, it is difficult, but you're going to have the resources around you. You'll have Dr. Schaefer there to help you with whatever questions, you need answered, or however much prep you need for that LSAT. So definitely a benefit. Waiting for some more questions to roll in. Anyone who's just joining us, welcome. Be sure to send in your questions and we'll just keep answering them and rolling along here. So I'll give you all a second to go ahead and answer some questions. In the meantime, I just encourage any students who are on here who haven't deposited to get that deposit in, and also to, if you have, be sure to be looking at the housing forms and everything like that. That's my admissions plug while we're here. So, all right. Okay. So we have a question, another law school question that just came in. This one is talking about different law schools. And it says, I always hear everyone talk about Harvard Law or some of the bigger name law schools. Am I able to get a job at a bigger firm if I don't go to one of the Ivy League schools?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. What I'm always looking for law school admissions, unless someone tells me that money is of absolutely no concern whatsoever, I'm always looking to basically minimize folks' law school bills. Okay. What I want to look to do is I want to get you into the best school that we can get you into that is also going to offer you financial assistance, scholarships, and aid and things like that. And so the first thing that I'm thinking about is okay, what's the highest school that we can get this person into? And then once we kind of get in the neighborhood and go, okay, this is the kind of like the neighborhood of schools that we're talking about, then how do we minimize the cost for it? Because that's a big deal. I have a 13-year-old and I have a 10-year-old. So, I'm starting to think about college. I'm starting to think about my 13-year-old wants to go to medical school or something like that. So I'm already thinking about cost. And so that's something that I'm kind of focused towards. Now, can you get a great firm job and not go to Harvard? Yes. Okay. Absolutely. Yes. Generally, I'm going to say that there are like a top 50 law schools, and a top 50 law schools are places where every big firm in the US is going to basically be there trying to hire young associates out. And then after that, there's approximately, another 100 to 150 law schools that are really, really good, strong regional law schools. And so this means that, hey, if you want to practice law in Pittsburgh, go to the University of Pittsburgh, right? If you want to practice law in Columbus, going to Ohio State, going to Cleveland State, that's fine. And you don't have to spend all of the money that you would have to spend to go to Stanford or to go to Harvard or to go to Georgetown and things like that. And also, most importantly, there's kind of like a hidden cost in law school. And that is, it's not like you're going to be living in a dorm in law school. You're going to be living in an apartment. You're going to be living in a townhouse. You're going to have roommates and things like that. And if you go to law school in Washington, D.C., it could be the greatest experience ever. If you go to law school in Boston, it could be the greatest experience ever, but it's going to cost, okay? The law school is going to cost and the living expenses are going to cost. So I'm always trying to be as sensitive to that as humanly possible.
Which is an important aspect that I think may be overlooked sometimes because, yes, as a lawyer, you will be making, I'm sure, some good money, but at the same time, I mean, Harvard law is expensive. And so you're going to be paying that off, if you don't have the means. So, I can definitely see finances being just as important as when you're applying as when you're thinking down the road what you want to be paying off. So, I definitely think that is something to consider. All right, I'll give everyone a second to ask any more questions that they might have. Okay, we have a two-part question that has just come in. So this question says, why should I choose a major in political science? And if I do, what does Marietta College offer in this area that is different from other colleges?
I would say that a political science major is a major that you should choose if, one, you're really interested in politics. If you're really interested in politics, you're really interested in government, if that's something that's exciting to you, then that's the major for you, because that's the one that's basically going to push you and drive you to be the best that you can be in college. I would also say that you should choose or think about a career with a political science major if you have a highly analytical mind, or if you just want one. We have a fair amount of students that come to our department where they've already basically chosen their particular partisan political path. It's my hope that when they leave us, that they are a bit less partisan. I want our students to be as analytical as possible. So it might be a great thing to say that I believe that Social Security should be privatized, or I believe in Medicare for all. But I want people to be analytical enough and to be able to use some statistics, to use some cost-benefit analysis, to be able to go through and to logically figure out whether or not those are in fact good policies, and whether or not those would be successful policies for the United States or for Canada or wherever you're going to go. And so whether or not that should be something that your country should do, or that your state should do, or that your local government should do. So for me, political science is for people who are passionate about government, passionate about politics, or want to be analytical. I definitely am from the analytical side of the house. I went to undergrad for political science and for international relations, and that was because I wanted to work for the State Department or the CIA or something like that. I didn't want to be a spy. I'm not going to blend in anywhere. I wanted to be just an analyst. I wanted to be somebody who helped to basically help government and help government officials make decisions with good, strong analytical backgrounds and with numbers and with data and with information. And so that's really what attracted me to political science. Now, what I would say is different about Marietta, and that you're going to find at Marietta, is you're going to find a small, passionate group of professors who are going to work with you every step of the way. We want to identify early what you want to do. If you don't know what you want to do, you just know that you like the stuff that we teach, then we're going to try to figure out a career path for you. We're going to work with you to basically help you decide the path that is right for you. We're going to push you. We are kind of a bossy group of professors. We are pushy, okay, but pushy in a nice way. Okay, we're not mean and things like that, but we're trying to push to get the most out of our students. We want you to work hard. We want this to be, a difficult and rewarding experience. We're not looking to basically take an easy path or an easy way out. We want you to work hard, and we're going to push you to get basically the most out of you that we can. We're also a faculty that cares. I mean, we are. It sounds cheesy. It sounds corny. And if you asked me 10 years ago, would I say this on some Zoom podcast, I would say, no, I would not. Okay. But we are Jonah was one of my students. So he knows.
Yes, I do know.
Not likely to be something I would say, but we are a faculty that cares. We care about our students. We want them to excel. We want them to succeed. We're proud when they do. We want to see them go down successful paths. So we're there with you. You're 4 years with us, and we're there with you afterwards. I'm writing letters for people at this moment who are applying for their third job, okay, because they've had 3 jobs and they're applying for another one, and they still want me to write a letter of recommendation for them. I'm proud of that. I'm proud to basically have that relationship, and that relationship that lasts beyond graduation.
And I can say that, like you said, pushy, but in a kind way. And I definitely think that pushing is not, to be mean necessarily, but it's just so you have the skills and are prepared to actually tackle the job once you do get out of Marietta College. It's not just knowing something you read in a book or something like that, being able to memorize it for a test. It's actually knowing what you're saying and how it applies to the situation you're in. And I would say that's the importance of, especially what you're going to get from, a Marietta College political science department, is they're going to make sure that you know what you're doing and can apply it to your actual job, which is just as important as getting an A on a test or something. So, that's definitely a benefit. All right, let's see. Anyone else who's joining, welcome. Feel free to ask some questions while we're still here. See if we get any more questions that roll in. Okay, I think this one is from what you just talked about with the CIA, but it says, can you become a CIA agent / officer?
Yes, you can. Yes. So for the Central Intelligence Agency, for a CIA officer, in essence, you can come out of undergrad and apply for jobs. So that's not unheard of. That's definitely a possibility. So yes, absolutely. I would say the things that probably help in that area would be staying and having that analytical mind, very helpful. Obviously, and this is great for the parents out there on this call, you want to keep your nose clean. You don't want to have, a troubled background and things like that. There will be polygraph tests and background checks and things like that. So keep your nose clean. My parents were really happy sending me off to college, knowing that that's what I wanted to be, because I knew I wasn't going to get in any trouble. Very true. And here I am, a dorky college professor. So I didn't go to the CIA, but I did basically keep my nose clean. And then I would say also language backgrounds. That's also very helpful. Not saying that a CIA officer necessarily has to find her or himself, immersed in another country, but you might be reading intelligence that is in, another language. So having a language background and things like that, that's helpful as well.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Anyone have more questions? Feel free to ask while we're still here. Yeah, okay, we just got one. This one says, what do you enjoy most about working for Marietta College or the Marietta College environment in general?
Interactions with students, interactions with my students. The hardest part of this whole COVID-19 thing has been the alteration of my normal day-to-day existence. I mean, I want to talk about politics with people. I want to talk about what's happening in the world. I want to talk about how the US or how Russia or how the Czech Republic is responding to the COVID-19 crisis. And I'm doing that, right? But I'm not doing it as much as I would want to, right? Like, I would be happiest if I were sitting in my office or sitting in, we have like this political science lunchroom on the 3rd floor of Thomas Hall. Jonah knows it well. Okay, it's basically where every political science like major hangs out at one point throughout a day. And so I like to just go in there and sit down on the couch with folks and just talk about things and just talk about what's going on in the world, what's going on in the US, what's going on in their lives. And I'd say that that's what I enjoy the most, you know, or basically finding myself in my office. In my office, everyone makes fun of it because I've had the same office for like 14 years and it's small. And they've asked if I want to move, and I don't really want to move because I don't know, it's my office, right? So I love being in my office, and I sit there and I look around and my whole office is filled. It has like 10 people in it, okay? And I'm like, this is awesome. I love this, okay? And I love this kind of interaction because, and this is the selfish thing about it, is I'm learning a lot too. It's not like it's just me espousing information that I have or espousing something, but no, people are saying things and picking up on things and thinking about things in ways that I've never thought of before. So I learn a lot too. And I would say that that's probably my most favorite thing about the college, about my job, and the thing that I miss the most right now.
And I can definitely attest to that. Like Dr. Schaefer said, I was a student at Marietta College, and I probably stopped in to talk with you at least twice a day. Just to,
oranges and apples and fruit. He stole from me every day. Every day I had to bring extra because Jonah was going to take some. And that's okay. I kept him fed. That's all right. He owes me like a bushel of oranges and apples.
That's true. Once we can get fruit in again after the virus, I'll take a box to you.
No, okay, it's all right.
But I agree. It is great to have that connection with professors and your fellow students. Just that you can all get together and talk about, like you said. I mean, sure, class, but also life in general, just how you're doing, maybe something interesting going on in the news that you have questions about. It's just a fun way to interact and get multiple perspectives on it and, learn something new in the process. So I definitely agree. All right. I don't really feel free to ask any more questions if anyone has them. All right, well, not seeing any new questions come in. So one last call for questions, if anyone has any. All right, well, Dr. Schaefer, thank you for doing this.
No problem.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking your time out to answer some questions for us about political science and pre-law. If students want to get in contact with you or have any questions, how should they do that?
Oh, you can email me. You can call my office. Email me, I guess would be best right now. So just email me, and then we can set up a time to have a phone call and have a chat and things like that. Or if you just want to email back and forth, we can do that as well. But you can find me on the Marietta College website or in the political science department website.
Awesome. And if anyone wants to get a hold of me, you can email admit@marietta.edu. You can get a hold of admissions that way. And be sure to check out other webinars coming later this week. So if you're interested in some of the other departments. But I think that's all we got. So thank you, Dr. Schaefer.
Thank you all.
Have a good night.
You too.